You are now listening to Testimonies with Terry.
Hey guys, Terry here. I'm going to be answering some of your hashtag AskTWT questions about my testimony. Before I do, I just wanted to thank everyone for listening to my testimony. It's been cool to get some messages and some texts from you guys, just letting you know or letting me know how it impacted you, and that's the goal, right? You know, to share your testimony is to just kind of share what Jesus has done in your life, and ultimately, I hope that people get a better understanding of who Jesus is by listening to my story and how he just came in and wrecked it in an awesome and beautiful way to rebuild it so that I can have a life that's just full of joy and freedom. So if you haven't listened to it yet, make sure to check it out. If you haven't listened to any of the other podcasts yet, go back into the archives and listen to them. They're all amazing. And I'm not just saying that because I recorded them. They genuinely are amazing. So listen to them. But let's get into the questions here. So question number 1, did you know all along you would be the finale of the podcast, or did you have a hard time deciding whether or not to share your own story? I kind of figured I'd go last. I wanted to put everyone first and get their story out and just kind of go last to wrap up the season. I thought that'd be kind of a cool way to wrap up the podcast of just giving you guys, the listeners, a chance to actually get to know me, the guy you've been hearing ask the questions all season. So as far as whether I would share my own story or not, I was always full, in for that. I am of the belief that as a leader and as someone who is asking people to come on and be real and raw and vulnerable, I have to do the same. I have to do the same myself. And so I always knew I would go on and share my story. Question 2, as a therapist, does your family often turn to you for advice? Not too often. I would say maybe some of my sisters do, if there's just any concerns they may have with some of their kids. But other than that, I would say in general, that's kind of when people ask me for advice. It's whether family or friends that reach out because they have something going on with one of their kids, and they're just kind of looking for direction on, is this something that we should be concerned about, or is this something that we should get help for? And so I'm always happy to kind of give you my 2 cents, but yeah, it doesn't happen too often. Question number 3, do you verbalize your feelings more now as an adult? What is your love language? I would say I do verbalize my feelings, but I'm very selective on who I verbalize my feelings to. Obviously, my wife Abby, I tell everything to her, and then I'm in a men's group with a core group of guys that I open up to about stuff as well. So I definitely don't have any problems verbalizing my feelings to them. As far as my love language, I would say, I don't know, I got a couple, but I would say probably acts of service is probably the top one, along with gift giving. And I think that's just because how my family showed love growing up, is that we would do things, for each other and then give gifts for each other. And I feel like that's just kind of carried with me throughout my life. And that's not a bad thing. That's just how I best experience love and how I best give love to people. Question number 4, as an adult, did you ever reach out to the teacher who made such an impact on your life to let them know, or to let him know? Yeah, I think I did. I remember when I was at St. Cloud State, probably my senior year, I sent an email to Mr. Bang, because he was actually, I think at the time, he was a professor at St. Cloud State, and I didn't have him for any classes, but I sent him an email and just let him know what had kind of been going on in my life the last year, as far as getting saved and coming to a faith, because he is also a Christian. I think I found that out after I graduated high school, and I think in that email I did express just my appreciation and thanks for all the support and encouragement that he provided me in high school. But if not, I am friends with Mr. Bang on Facebook. So, Mr. Bang, if you're listening to this, thank you so much for just speaking life into me and encouraging me and helping me step into the gifts that God has blessed me with. Really appreciate that. Question 5. Did you ever find out if you texted Sierra that night? Oh, that's an interesting question. So if you guys listen to the podcast, my testimony, you know that I said that there was a pivotal night where I'd gotten drunk and I woke up the next morning freaking out, not knowing if I had texted any dumb, drunk, random text to Sierra. And I don't think I ever did find out. Up until Sierra listened to this, I'm sure she had no idea about the whole situation. So I guess that'd be a question for her to ask. And that's 10, 11 years ago. So who knows if she'd even remember. I don't remember. Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry, I can't give a definitive answer to that question. Question number 6. Was having a host family part of your master's distance program, or how did you get connected with them? So, again, in the podcast, I mentioned that as part of my master's program, I would have to fly out to Lynchburg, Virginia. I think I flew out there twice, maybe 3 times, and do an intensive, which is a whole class in a week. And Jim and Sharon Foyt are the family that I stayed with when I was out there, and that was not the original plan. So the first time I flew out there, I stayed at a hotel for the whole week, which was expensive. And so to save costs for my second trip out there, they had a deal where you could stay in the dorms there for, it was like a couple $100. It was still cheaper than hotel. And I was under the assumption that it would be a dorm by myself. And so I was like, well, okay, yeah, I'll take that. So second time out there, I went with the dorm option. And I remember I got to the dorm, I walked in, and there was another dude in there. I'm just like, well, crap, I must have the wrong dorm then. And I double checked the dorm number, and I'm just like, no, this is the right room. So I go in there, and I'm just like, hey, like, you in the right dorm? Like, this is supposed to be my dorm. And no, it was the right dorm. I apparently was going to have a roommate for the week, which I was not too fond of. I've never really had a roommate. Other than, just growing up with my family and then living with Abby after we got married. I've never had a roommate. And I was willing to give it a shot, but we did not click. It was actually ironic. We were both from Minnesota. So I don't know if maybe that's why they put us together. But I think it lasted 2 days. It was super annoying when I was trying to go to bed and he had brought his laptop with to game on, and he had his mouse, and 11 o'clock at night, I would just hear click, 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 click. I'm just like, can you stop? He didn't. And so I actually made friends with a woman named Marla when I was out there, and she was staying with Jim and Sharon. She's the one who told me about them, and she said, hey, they have another room there. I'm sure, they'd be willing to take you in. And so I contacted them just kind of on a whim and trusting Marla, who I had just met at that time. And it worked out where I was able to get refunded for the dorms, and then I could just pay Jim and Sharon for my stay there. But such a blessing to be there. They were just wonderful hosts. Marla was there as well, and so I got to know her better as well, and just an awesome time. Just great people. They took me on some adventures in Virginia during the summer. They have some type of, I forget what it's called. It's like some type of boating festival or parade or whatever, where there's all a bunch of canoes and boats and whatnot. And anyways, I went with them, and it was a lot of fun. And a lot of good memories of staying with the Foyt family out in Lynchburg. Question 7. It seems you were freed from your addictions pretty easily once you set your mind to it. Have you struggled with any addiction since, or has that been completely broken? I think for the most part, it's been broken. And again, I just credit that to God's grace. I just really feel like there's been a grace over me in that regard, specifically with the porn stuff. Like Ted said in his testimony, it's something that I have to be aware of and on guard of. I feel it's something that every man has to be aware of and have their guard up against. But I haven't struggled with it really since then. As far as the eating disorder stuff, I think that one's more of a battle. I haven't like relapsed at all or anything like that, but those thoughts are there from time to time. And like Ashley said in her testimony, she kind of related it to how Paul talked about the thorn in his side and how it's kind of that thing that's going to have to remind him to stay dependent on God. And I kind of feel the same way about that. I would agree with Ashley with that, of where I just got to trust God when it comes to, weight, food, body image, whatever it may be. That one I definitely am more, I think just more aware of, and something that I have to battle a little bit more. And again, it's not like the battle is super hard or that like I've had some close calls with relapse or anything like that. It's just one of those things that I think may always be there, and God can take it away. God's not limited by any means, but like I said, it might be that thing that is there that I just have to completely surrender to God and continue to trust Him with. Let's see, last couple questions here. What are things you should avoid saying to someone that used to struggle with an eating disorder or may currently struggle? So this one's kind of a hard one because I can only speak from my experience. I think there's probably some commonalities across people with eating disorders, but everyone has their own journey and everyone has their own story. And so for me, I think some things that kind of trigger those thoughts are when people talk about how much weight they've lost, whether it's by dieting or whatever it may be, and especially if it's like a significant amount of weight, that kind of triggers thoughts in me, kind of like those old thoughts where, okay, well, I got to outdo that then. They lost this amount of weight, well, then I got to lose even more. Thankfully, through the grace of God, I'm able to just catch them right away and be like, that's a stupid thought. That's a lie. I do not need to do that. So that's something that triggers me. Honestly, I think that's kind of the only thing that has triggered me, at least that I've kind of been aware of over the last 10 years or so. As far as what you should avoid saying to someone else, I think just pointing out how much weight they've lost. They're aware of how much weight they've lost, and if they're anything like me, like I said in my testimony, when people would draw that to my attention, that just motivated me to want to lose even more. That I took that as like a challenge. I didn't take that as like something to be concerned about. I took that as like a badge of honor, as twisted as that sounds. That yeah, they've noticed, and now I'm gonna lose even more, and now they're gonna notice that as well. And then that kind of leads into this next question. What are some signs to look for if someone is struggling with an eating disorder? How do you approach someone struggling, or how do you help them? So, signs, obviously, rapid weight loss is the big thing. If you know that they're exercising a lot, that's another warning sign. If you go out to eat with them and you notice that they're just ordering maybe something that they probably don't normally order, or if they're not really eating much while you're out with them, obviously another warning signs. But also just like comments of depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, those can all tie into eating disorder stuff as well. How do you approach someone struggling, or how do you help them? So like I said, I and this is just my opinion and everybody's different, but I don't think going up to them and saying, whoa, you've lost a lot of weight, like, are you okay? Is maybe the best way. I think just being very firm and direct that, hey, like, it doesn't look like you're doing well. I'm concerned about you. Is there anything that I can do to help you? Something along those lines, and you can kind of phrase it however, but I think just being more direct and to the point would be good. I think looking back at it, if people were more direct with me, instead of just kind of like asking, hey, are you okay? Maybe it would have made a difference. Probably not in my case, because I was so stubborn, but I think just being direct and just telling the person, hey, like, I can tell you're not okay. and obviously saying it from a place of love. You don't want to come and be like, you're not doing okay, are you? That wouldn't be helpful, but just like real compassion, being like, I know you're not doing okay. It doesn't look like you're doing okay. What's going on? How can we help you? Something along those lines. Again, that's just my opinion. But honestly, probably just praying on it, praying on it, asking for words from the Lord. How do I approach this person? I think that's the best way to go about it. And then I think it all depends on the relationship you have with the person too. If it's someone that you know pretty well, you probably can be more direct with them. If it's someone you don't know really well, maybe have someone who is close to them reach out to them. I guess that'd be my idea. Next question. What's your favorite character trait of Abby? And what are a few words of advice to help strengthen a marriage? My favorite character trait of Abby is her sense of humor. I love her sense of humor. She knows how to keep things light and how to just be a dork and be funny. And I love that. And I need that sometimes, especially with the job that I have. I can just kind of get into like my serious zone. And she really helps bring that out of me and bring me out of that. And so she's got a ton of amazing character traits, but I would say that that's probably one of the top ones that I love about her is her goofy sense of humor. And then as far as a few words to help strengthen a marriage, I think the biggest thing is to just keep the right structure. God on top, spouse comes second. People get in trouble when we put our spouse in that God position. I see that a lot with clients that I work with. And so, keeping that structure. And then I think just like keeping that friendship as well. I guess it's been kind of easy for Abby and I to do that because we don't have any kids right now. But I think, and again, just seeing my friends and then working with clients that have kids, I think it's more of a challenge to kind of keep that friendship as you grow in your relationship, as kids come, as stressors come up, job and finances and things like that. It can kind of really quickly turn into like a roommate type relationship. And that's a red flag for sure. And so I think it's just keeping that friendship and having fun with each other. That's another thing I love about being with Abby is that we have fun and we have fun in our own way. We don't need to, go travel to a foreign country to have fun or go blow a lot of money to have fun. Not saying that those things are bad or that you can't do that, but like for us, it can literally be just, sitting on the couch and watching The Office or watching Ted Lasso or something like that. It's just fun. Going out to Texas Roadhouse, something like that. So keeping God first and foremost in the marriage hierarchy, keeping your friendship solid, and having fun. I'd say those are some three pretty big things to keep in a really healthy relationship. And then the last one, this one comes from Ted. And this is definitely a Ted question, is who is your favorite Ninja Turtle? I would say Donatello, Ted. He's my favorite Ninja Turtle. That's all the questions. If you guys have any other questions for me, don't be afraid to reach out, whether messaging me here on this page or on my personal Facebook profile, shooting an email to twterrypod@gmail.com. If you have my number, if you're close to me, you'll have it. Can text me, call me. Thanks a lot, guys, for taking the time to watch this video. I know it's a longer one, but also to listen to my testimony and all the other testimonies. This has been a great first season, and I'm gonna go on a little month of rest here, a little bit of a break over the holidays, and start recording again in January with hopefully season 2 being released sometime in early 2022. So looking forward to that. But thanks again, guys, for all the support. Means a lot. And guys, I guess I should close this out the way I close out the podcast, which is live your life in such a way that glorifies God and kicks Satan's butt.